So, imagine for a second that you're the heir to this elite, wealthy hotelier family.
Right.
You have status, you have connections. And then you decide to trade all of that in to work a grueling 12-hour-a-day shift in this cramped, screamingly loud internet cafe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and you're doing it for exactly 1,000 rupees a month, which, I mean, by all standard logic, is probably the worst career move in history.
It really sounds like it, yeah. It completely shatters our entire framework for how ambition is, supposed to function.
Right.
Like, we are so culturally conditioned to believe that climbing the corporate ladder is the only way up. So the idea of intentionally jumping off that ladder to basically sweep the floor of a local tech shop, it just feels like self-sabotage.
Totally. Which is exactly why today's deep dive is going to completely challenge how you evaluate every single opportunity in your own life. We're looking at the incredibly unconventional journey of a man named Murti back in the year 2000.
It's a fascinating story.
It really is. And we're working from two really interesting sources today. First, there's a deeply personal blog post written by Murti himself, which he actually published to celebrate the birthday of his very first internet student, a guy named Mangdesh.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. And then we have a review from the Little Bird platform where an analyst named Max just kind of breaks down the sheer absolute brilliance of Murti's underlying strategy.
Because there really is a brilliant strategy there. Our mission for this deep dive is to uncover what Murti calls his theoretical value.
Theoretical value. Okay, I love that phrase.
Right. We're going to look at how his really rigid commitment to personal ethics during what was basically a massive literal collapse of his physical business forced him to see the hidden wealth in skill acquisition. I mean, it completely redefines what it means to actually be compensated for your time.
I can't wait to get into this. So to figure out why a wealthy hotelier's son ends up working for what most people would call literal peanuts, we kind of have to look at the friction that pushed him off his original path.
Yeah, the backstory is crucial here.
Right. So we're in Rajahmundry, which is a city in India, and it's the late 90s. Murti is running this really prominent retail store. The business is totally healthy, doing great, but then his landlord suddenly decides to move back to his native place and just forces Murti to vacate the property.
Which is a huge deal.
Yeah.
Relocating a physical retail storefront. I mean, it isn't just about packing up boxes.
Oh, for sure.
In that specific commercial real estate market, securing a new, comparable, prominent location requires this massive upfront cash advance for the rent.
Right, like a huge deposit.
Exactly. So Murti looks at those numbers and realizes the overhead simply isn't justifiable anymore. He can't make it work. So he makes a pivot into the distribution business, which operates on this entirely different logic.
Because you don't need the foot traffic, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Distribution doesn't rely on foot traffic at all. You don't need a fancy glass storefront. You could run it out of a back street with low rent and a minimal cash advance.
Makes total sense. But solving that logistical problem immediately slams him into this massive moral wall.
Oh yeah, the culture shock.
Yeah. He steps into the wholesale distribution market and quickly discovers that the entire ecosystem there runs on what they call the no-bill culture.
And, the psychology of this no-bill culture is super vital to understand here. Because it wasn't just like a few bad actors. Yeah. It was the structural reality of the entire market.
It was just how business was done.
Right. Traders systematically avoided paying taxes by simply not issuing physical receipts for transactions.
Yeah.
I mean, no paper trail means no taxable event.
Sneaky.
Yeah. And the trap for an honest business person is that if you try to charge the legally required tax, well, your final prices are suddenly significantly higher than literally every single one of your competitors.
Yeah.
The market actively punishes you for playing by the rules.
Wow. And Murti, who the sources mention is a very dedicated yoga practitioner, he writes that this wasn't just some minor administrative annoyance for him.
No, it really bothered him.
Yeah, the unethical nature of this under-the-table economy caused him genuine emotional pain. He just flat out refuses to participate in the tax evasion.
Good for him.
But, I mean, he can't exactly go to the local authorities and magically reform an entire city's shadow economy overnight, right? So he architects this brilliantly aggressive strategy instead. He decides to take on distribution agencies exclusively for writing instruments, basically just pens.
Which seems almost absurdly narrow at first glance, just pens.
Right.
But if you analyze the mechanics of a retail environment, even an illicit one, it makes total sense. Every single shop, whether they're selling hardware, groceries, clothing, they all need pens to function. It is a universal utility.
Oh, that is so smart.
Right. So by hyper-focusing his entire operation on this one very specific category, Murti quietly secures control of an astonishing 60% of the pen distribution market in that area.
That's crazy. It's like he realized he couldn't clean up the whole ocean, so he just monopolized the drinking water everyone needed to survive.
That's a perfect analogy.
So if a retailer buys pens from him and tries to pull some shady move, or if they drag their feet on paying a legitimate taxed invoice, Murti just cuts off their pen supply.
I'm done.
And as he points out in the source material, trying to run a retail storefront without any pens is just stupidity. He literally forces his corner of the market to adopt his ethical standards simply because they have no other choice.
He totally weaponized logistics for ethical compliance. It's genius. But, to maintain that clean, heavily documented, above-board business, you have to manage some really complex business accounting.
Which means computers.
Exactly. This is where his moral stance forces a pretty wild technological leap.
Okay, hold on, because I struggle to see the logic in this next part. This is where the numbers get totally wild for me. So he decides he needs a computer to run this clean accounting. And because of his strict ethical stance, he absolutely refuses to use the pirated software that literally everyone else in his market is using.
Like pirated software.
So he drops 60,000 rupees on a computer and another 12,000 rupees on legitimate accounting software. Meanwhile, everyone around him is getting their software for free. And he drops 72,000 rupees just on a moral principle.
It's a huge investment.
I mean, that doesn't sound like a brilliant strategy to me. In the year 2000, in India, that sounds like business suicide. He is bleeding cash just to feel good about himself.
Oh, I totally get why you'd say that. And it absolutely looked like financial ruin to his peers. But that 72,000 rupee investment, and actually, more importantly, the refusal to use pirated software, was the hidden catalyst for literally everything that followed.
Wait, really? How?
Well, think about the mechanics of software piracy. When you use stolen software, someone else has already cracked it. You just click install and you're done.
It's easy.
Super easy. Because Murti refused that easy route, he basically backed himself into a corner where he couldn't afford to buy every single premium program he needed to run his business. So he was forced to figure out free, open source software instead.
Oh, wow. So he had to actually learn how it worked.
Exactly. He had to learn how operating systems actually functioned at a structural level. He was inadvertently training himself to be a systems administrator and a tech expert years before it ever became his actual profession. And it was all purely because his ethics removed the easy shortcuts.
That is wild. I mean, think about your own industry right now. Are there accepted shortcuts everyone takes? Like the modern equivalent of pirated software. Murti's story implies that taking the agonizingly hard route might actually be forcing you to understand the underlying mechanics of your job way better than your competitors do.
It is exactly that. It's a forced education through constraint.
Okay, so he has his highly ethical pen empire running on this open source tech stack. He moves the wholesale business into a store on KVR Swami Road, which the sources describe as this historic, centuries-old business street in the Old Town.
It's a prime location.
Right. He's built a perfectly ethical, modern business system. But unfortunately, a clean ledger doesn't physically protect your storefront from analog chaos.
No, it definitely doesn't. And this is where things take a really tough turn. The local government, after years of bureaucratic delays, suddenly initiates this massive road-widening project.
Just out of nowhere.
Pretty much. And they aren't just repaving the street. They are actively bringing in bulldozers and demolishing buildings along this historic commercial artery. I mean, the physical disruption is absolute.
And the ripple effects of that just completely destroy his entire logistical network. Because Murti wasn't just supplying the shops next door, right? He was a primary distributor for retailers traveling in from both the East and West Godavari districts.
Right, regional buyers.
Yeah, and because the demolition turns Rajahmundry into this unnavigable nightmare, those regional customers just completely bypass the city. They redraw their supply lines and start going to a neighboring city, Vijayawada, instead.
So the foot traffic just vanishes overnight.
Complete.
The local shops don't need his inventory because they have no customers, and the regional buyers are just gone. His entire business model collapses. And it's not because of a bad decision, but literally because the physical street ceased to function.
It's so brutal. So he starts leaving his empty shop in the hands of a delivery assistant, and he basically seeks refuge in a local internet cafe.
Just to have somewhere to go?
Yeah. And we really need to contextualize what an internet cafe in the year 2000 actually felt like.
Oh, please do. It's a different world.
He is paying by the hour to use a 4 kilobit per second connection. To put that in perspective, downloading a single low-resolution photograph at that speed would take several minutes of just watching the image render, pixel row by agonizing pixel row.
Sounds painful.
And he is sharing that tiny pipeline with 5 other computers in a noisy, crowded room.
Yeah, and he is using this agonizingly slow connection to check emails and aggressively apply for jobs abroad. The sources mentioned this was a dream he'd had since 1988, actually, this idea of working overseas and building passive income.
Wow, so he's been at this for a while.
Oh, yeah. He spends so much time sitting in this cafe that he naturally builds a rapport with the owner.
And then the owner mentions a huge problem. His main administrative assistant needs to take an extended leave of absence to study for his graduate exams.
Uh-oh.
The cafe desperately needs someone who actually knows how to operate computers to manage the network and bill all the customers.
Hmm?
And Murti, remember, this is the elite hotelier's son, the guy who just commanded 60% of a regional logistics market. He raises his hand and asks for the job.
I can only imagine the owner's face. He must have been utterly bewildered.
Honestly, I am completely bewildered. Like, if he is from a wealthy, prominent family with elite status, why not just ask his family for a bridge loan, just to tide his wholesale business over until the road construction finishes?
Right. That would be the standard move.
Exactly. Why swallow his pride, completely abandon his social standing, and subject himself to a 12-hour-a-day job where he is only getting paid 1,000 rupees a month? It just feels like the ultimate admission of defeat.
Yeah, and if you view it strictly through the lens of a monthly paycheck, it absolutely looks like defeat. But see, Murti wasn't looking at the 1,000 rupees.
What was he looking at?
He was looking directly at the admin PC. This brings up the core concept of strategic repositioning. Murti recognized that the true appreciating currency of his era wasn't the dying wholesale market in a demolished neighborhood.
Right.
The currency was digital access. He willingly absorbed a massive hit to his social prestige because he was placing himself directly at the source of the most valuable resources. That admin PC was strictly off limits to paying customers. By taking that menial job, he secured a monopoly on the single most powerful tool in the building.
Wow. Okay, that frames it totally differently. And the reviewer on Little Bird, Max, breaks down the math of this, and it fundamentally changes how you look at compensation. Max zeroes in on Murti's calculation of what he called theoretical value.
The math here is mind-blowing. Let's look at the actual economics of the year 2000. Owning a personal internet connection at home cost roughly 30,000 rupees, which was just completely out of reach for most people.
Insanely expensive.
Right. And if you rented time at the cafe, the going rate was 100 rupees an hour.
Okay, so Murti is working the desk 12 hours a day. 12 hours a day times 30 days a month at a commercial rate of 100 rupees an hour. That equals 36,000 rupees a month of free, unfettered internet access.
Exactly. And the source material grounds that number beautifully. It notes that the price of gold at that specific time was about 400 rupees per gram.
Okay.
So that 36,000 rupees in digital access was the financial equivalent of nearly 100 grams of gold every single month.
That is insane.
And that calculation is only based on using a single terminal. Murti notes that when he factored in his ability to use, network, and experiment with all 6 PCs in the cafe simultaneously during off hours, he was extracting over 1 lakh or 100,000 rupees of value.
I am just, wow. We are so heavily conditioned by society to only look at the number printed on a pay stub,
Right.
We suffer from this massive cognitive bias where we just completely ignore the indirect value of an opportunity.
It's so true.
Murti didn't take a minimum wage job. He essentially secured a fully funded, unsupervised research fellowship at the bleeding edge of the digital frontier.
Yes. Evaluate your own daily routine through this exact lens. Beyond your salary, what is your theoretical value?
Right.
Like, what proprietary software are you getting to master? What internal industry networks are you secretly navigating? What deeply expensive mistakes are you being allowed to make on someone else's dime? Murti looked at a noisy, cramped room full of slow computers and saw immense, compounding human capital, where his peers just saw a guy sweeping up for peanuts.
But Murti doesn't just quietly sit at the admin desk mining his theoretical gold. He actually uses those skills to completely disrupt the economic model of the cafe itself.
Oh, he completely flips it on its head. The macroeconomic environment was shifting so rapidly then. Sending an international communication via the internet was suddenly fractions of the cost of sending a traditional international fax.
Makes sense.
So local businessmen who dealt with overseas suppliers started abandoning their fax machines and flocking to the internet cafe to send emails instead.
But there is a fatal flaw in this shift. These local businessmen have no idea how to operate a keyboard. They don't know how to type.
Nope, not at all.
And the regular assistants working the floor at the cafe, their English is pretty poor, and they basically hunt and peck at the keys with 2 fingers.
Which is agonizingly slow. But enter Murti. Because he spent years meticulously teaching himself open source software and networking protocols, he isn't just technologically literate. He possesses excellent English communication skills, and he is a blazing fast-touch typist.
So a businessman walks in, needing an urgent message sent to a supplier in Germany. If one of the regular assistants handles it, they struggle for an hour to slowly type it out, right? And the customer gets billed for 1 full hour of internet time.
Yep.
But if Murti takes the customer, he understands the business context, translates the thought into perfect English, and touch types the entire email in 15 minutes. The customer only pays for 15 minutes of time.
It's a huge saving for the customer.
Exactly. And the incredible part is, the other assistants actually went to the owner and filed a formal complaint against Murti.
I love this part.
They argued his typing speed was destroying the cafe's revenue.
They literally viewed him as a reverse taximeter. Like the faster he drove the computer, the less the customer had to pay.
That is hilarious.
But it exposes a fundamental flaw in how the other assistants understood their own business. They thought they were in the real estate business, renting out plastic chairs by the hour.
Whereas Murti understood that he was in the solutions business. How does typing emails faster translate into anything bigger? It's the mechanism of trust.
Exactly.
By solving a critical, high-stress problem for these businessmen in 15 minutes, he proved undeniable competence. He saved them time and money, which built massive social capital. Word spread instantly through the local commercial networks that Murti was the guy who could handle your international business flawlessly, and customer volume just skyrocketed.
And having earned that profound trust, he leverages it beautifully. He approaches the cafe owner and proposes a structural shift. He says, instead of just acting as high-speed typists for these businessmen, they should package internet hours with a formal educational curriculum.
Brilliant.
They launch a 1-week internet course.
So he transitions from being a service provider to being a tech educator. And the sources point out how far ahead of the curve he was with this. He was pioneering tech education in Rajahmundry by teaching these local traders how to use Yahoo's cloud office.
Which is wild to think about.
Totally. We have to remember that in the year 2000, the cloud wasn't a standard term at all. People didn't have reliable USB thumb drives yet, and floppy disks were constantly corrupting data. Murti was teaching them to use their Yahoo email drafts folder as a remote, globally accessible hard drive.
He was literally teaching them rudimentary cloud architecture a decade before the industry fully commercialized the concept. And, his methodology for learning this material is equally fascinating.
Oh, yeah. Tell us about that.
He deliberately bypassed the local Telugu language tech magazines. There's a really popular one called Computer Vijayanam, published by a man named Nalamothu Sridhar.
Okay.
Instead of using that, Murti sourced English language magazines like Digit, because they included physical CD-ROMs packed with trial software and deep-level tutorials. He was actively forcing himself out of the localized knowledge pool and directly into the global information stream.
Okay, let me push back on this educational model for a second, though.
Sure, go for it.
If his immense value to the cafe and to his own reputation is that he is the fast, reliable typist who gets all the international business done, isn't it incredibly dangerous to launch a course teaching those exact same customers how to do it themselves?
Seems like it, right?
Yeah. He is literally training his own replacements. Doesn't that just make his role completely obsolete?
It only makes you obsolete if you operate from a scarcity mindset. Murti understood that technology is an infinite frontier. By teaching the basics, he wasn't rendering himself useless. He was elevating his own intrinsic value from like a pair of fast hands to a trusted digital consultant.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, he was creating this deeply loyal network of prominent business people who relied on his expertise to navigate the future. He basically traded a short-term monopoly on typing for a long-term monopoly on trust.
That is so smart.
And that exact network positioned him perfectly for his eventual departure. In 2003, he leaves the net cafe, opens a brand new retail store in a highly affluent locality, and installs his own high-speed 8 kilobit per second internet connection. He took all that theoretical value he had mined in the dark and finally cashed it in to build his own infrastructure.
Wow. And the long-term dividends of that shift are what make this story resonate so deeply today, I think. The blog post we are analyzing wasn't written during those chaotic cafe days. It was written decades later, specifically to celebrate the birthday of Mangesh, who was Murti's very first internet student.
Right. And Murti spent his summers at the cafe running training courses for local 10th graders. The source actually tracks the trajectory of those teenagers over the next quarter century.
It's amazing to see where they ended up.
It really is. Kamal Jam leveraged that early computer literacy into a highly successful IT career. Bittu Jain used those foundational business tech skills to build kiranamarkets.com, which is a massive wholesale grocery operation.
And Mangesh Kumar, the birthday boy, he built a highly prosperous travel agency called Jolly Day Tours. They offer these complex packages and even hold shares in the tourist boats operating in Rajahmundry. But there's a deeply beautiful irony hidden in Mangesh's career path.
Oh, the irony is the best part. It centers around Nalamothu Sridhar.
The magazine publisher.
Exactly. Remember him. He was the publisher of the local Telugu tech magazine that Murti deliberately ignored back in the day because he wanted the English CD-ROMs.
Right. Murti actively bypassed Sridhar's localized material.
He did. Well, years later, Mangesh Murti's star student actually went and learned advanced computer hardware engineering directly from that very same publisher, Sridhar.
No way!
Yes. Mangesh utilized that hardware knowledge to open his own computer store and the primary customer for his new hardware business.
Don't tell me it's Murti.
It's Murti.
That is incredible. The tech educator eventually becomes the loyal customer of his own teenage student. I mean, it is the purest example of long-term return on investment. You plant a digital seed in the year 2000, and 25 years later, you are buying your physical computer servers from the tree you helped cultivate.
Perfectly said. Murti actually writes about this phenomenon, calling it the distinct advantage of business people. When you root yourself in a community and resist the urge to constantly relocate for minor gains, you create the environment necessary to cultivate these quarter-century relationships.
It's so powerful.
It really provides retroactive validation for his very first decision. His stubborn commitment to ethical business practices during the pen monopoly wasn't just some fleeting moral vanity project. Uncompromising ethics, combined with genuine, generous mentorship, form the absolute bedrock of a highly sustainable, lifelong networking strategy.
Wow. We have watched Murti navigate the emotional toll of an illicit shadow economy by intelligently monopolizing a seemingly mundane product. And when municipal bulldozers literally erased his physical customer base, he didn't succumb to the chaos. He executed a strategic repositioning. He absorbed the social humiliation of a low-paying cafe job because he was calculating the massive theoretical gold of unrestricted digital access.
It's a masterclass.
It really is.
Phew.
He fundamentally disrupted the cafe's analog business model, became a pioneer of cloud computing education, and constructed a localized network of students that continues to sustain his enterprises decades later.
It serves as a phenomenal, actionable blueprint for cognitive resilience.
So apply this blueprint to your life today. Look closely at your current daily routine, your day job, your side projects, the people you are forced to interact with. Strip away the physical cash compensation. What is your theoretical value?
That's the big question.
What specialized software access, what bizarre new skills, or what hidden high-level networks are you absorbing right now that might be worth your own equivalent of 100 grams of gold, even if your bank account doesn't reflect it yet?
Because recognizing that hidden value completely alters how you approach Monday morning. And, it presents us with a really fascinating paradox regarding modern technology. We are constantly told that the internet is a tool of detachment, that it scatters our attention globally and pulls us away from our immediate physical surroundings.
But Murti's journey proves the exact opposite is possible. He mastered the boundless global internet, but he didn't use it to escape his local reality. He used the global web as the exact mechanism to build deep, incredibly analog 25-year relationships right in his hometown of Rajahmundry.
Exactly.
Perhaps the true underlying purpose of mastering intimidating, bleeding-edge technology isn't to disconnect from our local communities, but to discover entirely unimaginable ways to anchor ourselves permanently within them.